The specter of annihilation. Renewed nuclear posturing. The world watches with growing unease. Geopolitical tensions are currently very high. Powerful nations are engaging in rhetoric that has not been common for decades. Figures in state-controlled media, such as Russia's Vladimir Solovyov, issue stark warnings. He recently threatened the United Kingdom with nuclear Armageddon. This was a direct response to UK political statements. Sir Keir Starmer suggested a defense review. He spoke of putting the UK on a war footing regarding Russia. Such language inevitably provokes strong reactions. It pushes the world closer to dangerous possibilities. Solovyov's pronouncements were not merely words. They were a calculated display of aggression. He openly mocked the UK's military preparedness for any serious conflict. He even suggested internal divisions within the UK. He encouraged Scotland and Wales to consider independence from London. This is a clear attempt to destabilize an opponent. Furthermore, he accused the UK of conducting covert operations against Russia. These included alleged cyber attacks. Such claims are used to justify retaliatory threats. They paint a picture of escalating hostilities. The consequences of these rising tensions could be severe for everyone involved. The threats became even more specific and alarming. Solovyov mentioned Russia's Poseidon underwater nuclear drone. He suggested it could be used to obliterate the UK entirely. This is not the language of diplomacy. It is the language of ultimate destruction. Political scientist Dmitry Evstafiev echoed these grim sentiments. He stated that any military confrontation initiated by Starmer's plans would lead to horrific outcomes. He spoke of many people dying painfully from radiation exposure. The broadcast highlighted public skepticism in Britain. Many seemed unsure about the new confrontational strategy. This escalation is not occurring in a vacuum. It is part of a broader pattern of increasing militarization. It reflects a dangerous reliance on nuclear deterrence. The theory of deterrence assumes rational actors. However, heightened emotions and miscalculations can easily lead to unintended consequences. The very existence of these weapons creates a permanent risk. The current climate of distrust and accusation only magnifies that risk. Ordinary citizens are often caught in the middle. They bear the brunt of these high-stakes geopolitical games played by states. The path to de-escalation seems increasingly narrow. Echoes of power leaders speak on existential threats. Concerns about nuclear weapons are not confined to one region. President Donald Trump has also spoken about their immense destructive power. He described nuclear weapons as monster nukes. He warned they could bring about an end-of-the-world scenario. In a notable interview, Trump emphasized this danger. He argued that nuclear weapons pose a far more immediate threat to humanity than climate change. This is a significant statement. It highlights the sheer scale of potential devastation. The stockpiles held by the US, Russia, and China are central to this global threat. Trump's critique focused on the global priorities. He suggested that too much attention is given to climate change. He believes the real existential risk stems from nuclear arsenals. The destructive capacity of these weapons is almost unimaginable. He argued that the world's focus should shift. Preventing nuclear conflict and reducing these arsenals should be paramount. Thousands of these weapons exist. This means any major conflict between nuclear powers could escalate rapidly. It could lead to a worldwide catastrophe. The consequences for all life on Earth would be devastating. Their continued presence is a constant, looming danger. During his discussion, Trump also addressed current international relations. He spoke about the tense relationships between major global powers. These include Russia, China, and North Korea. He specifically mentioned the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. He also shared his perspectives on Ukrainian President Zelensky. Despite these complex geopolitical challenges, Trump advocated for a global effort. He called for denuclearization. The goal would be to rid the world of these uniquely powerful and threatening weapons. He also recalled his own firm stance towards Russia during his presidency, suggesting a different approach to managing these risks. The rhetoric of leaders, past and present, shapes public perception. It also influences international policy. When powerful figures speak of monster nukes, it underscores the gravity of the situation. It reminds us that these are not abstract concepts. They are real instruments of immense violence. The call for denuclearization, even amidst political tensions, is crucial. However, such calls must be matched by concrete actions. They require genuine commitment from all nuclear states. Without this, the shadow of nuclear war will continue to hang over humanity. The focus must remain on preventing their use. Decentralized concerns. Grassroots calls for nuclear sanity. The prevention of nuclear war is not solely the responsibility of national governments. A growing movement suggests that smaller entities, like individual states or regions, must also engage. For instance, there is an argument that states like Maryland should actively participate. They should join discussions about nuclear war prevention. Local communities and state governments can make their voices heard. This can happen alongside national and international efforts. By speaking out, these subnational actors can contribute to a wider movement. This movement can amplify warnings against the dangers of nuclear conflict. States can take several practical steps. They can demonstrate their concern and advocate for peaceful solutions. Official resolutions could be passed by state legislatures. These resolutions could condemn the use of nuclear weapons. They could also call for the strengthening of arms control treaties. Public awareness campaigns are another important tool. Such campaigns can educate citizens about the real risks of nuclear war. They can encourage public involvement in peace initiatives. Furthermore, state officials can collaborate. They can urge their federal representatives to support diplomatic solutions. They can push for prioritizing de-escalation in international disputes. The collective action of many states can create a powerful message. When numerous states speak with a unified voice, their influence grows. They can exert greater pressure on national policy regarding nuclear weapons. This united front can demand stronger commitments to peace. It can push for disarmament. It can advocate for the prevention of a nuclear catastrophe. By working together from the ground up, states can help build a safer future. They can contribute to a world free from the constant shadow of nuclear threats. Global anxieties about potential conflicts can be lessened through such actions. This grassroots approach complements traditional diplomacy. It empowers citizens and local governments. It reminds national leaders that decisions about war and peace affect everyone. The threat of nuclear annihilation is universal. Therefore, the call for its prevention should also be universal. State-level activism can foster a culture of peace. It can build resilience against the rhetoric of fear and confrontation. It ensures that the concerns of ordinary people are not ignored. These concerns must be considered when decisions about national security are made. International relations must reflect this popular will for survival. Section 4. The Brinksmanship Dilemma. Escalation and global anxiety. Recent warnings paint a disturbing picture. Experts, political figures, and media commentators express growing alarm. Global instability appears to be increasing significantly. There is a palpable sense of dread about a potential major conflict. Such a conflict could easily involve nuclear weapons. Many fear this could lead to a nuclear Armageddon. These concerns are not baseless. They are fueled by persistent international tensions. Aggressive rhetoric from various world leaders contributes to this fear. The continued existence of vast nuclear arsenals remains a core problem. These arsenals are capable of unprecedented destruction. The consequences of a global nuclear conflict would be truly catastrophic. They would be far-reaching and long-lasting. Beyond the immediate, horrific loss of human life in targeted areas, the environmental impact would be devastating. Scientists have warned of a nuclear winter. Dust and smoke from massive fires would block sunlight. This would lead to a sharp drop in global temperatures. Agriculture would collapse, resulting in widespread famine. Long-term effects would include severe radioactive contamination. Large parts of the Earth could become uninhabitable for generations. Severe health problems, including cancers and genetic damage, would afflict survivors. Given these dire potential outcomes, the need for de-escalation is urgent. Renewed diplomatic efforts are absolutely critical. International cooperation is essential to reduce current tensions. Trust between nations must be rebuilt, however difficult that may seem. Meaningful reductions in nuclear stockpiles must be pursued vigorously. Preventing the use of these devastating weapons must be the highest priority for all countries. The safety and survival of humanity depend on it. The focus must shift decisively towards peaceful conflict resolution. International treaties aimed at controlling and eventually eliminating nuclear weapons must be strengthened and respected. The current international climate encourages brinksmanship. Nations test each other's resolve. They push boundaries, often relying on their nuclear capabilities as a backdrop. This is an incredibly dangerous game. A miscalculation, an accident, or an act of desperation could ignite a conflagration. The world cannot afford such a risk. The logic of mutually assured destruction, while preventing all-out war for decades, remains a terrifying gamble. It is a strategy based on fear, not security. True security can only come from the elimination of these weapons. The global anxiety is a rational response to an irrational situation. Section 5. A path from the precipice. The imperative of diplomacy. The path away from potential nuclear catastrophe is narrow but clear. It demands an unwavering commitment to diplomacy. It requires robust international cooperation. The alternative is simply too horrifying to contemplate seriously. Leaders must prioritize dialogue over confrontation. They must seek common ground, even with adversaries. The current geopolitical landscape is fraught with peril. Yet, it is precisely in such times that diplomatic skills are most needed. Open channels of communication must be maintained. They must be used to de-escalate tensions and prevent misunderstandings that could spiral out of control. International treaties and arms control agreements form a crucial framework. These agreements, though sometimes imperfect, provide mechanisms for transparency and restraint. They must be preserved, strengthened, and expanded. Efforts towards nuclear non-proliferation must be redoubled. The spread of nuclear weapons to more states would only increase instability. It would multiply the risks of their use. The major nuclear powers bear a special responsibility. They must lead by example in reducing their arsenals. They must also foster an environment where disarmament is seen as a viable goal, not a utopian dream. Public awareness and citizen engagement are also vital components. An informed global populace can exert significant pressure on governments. People can demand accountability and responsible stewardship of these awesome powers. Movements advocating for peace and disarmament play an essential role. They keep the issue in the public consciousness. They challenge the normalization of nuclear threats. Education about the humanitarian consequences of nuclear war is crucial. It helps to strip away any illusions about limited or winnable nuclear conflicts. Such notions are dangerous fallacies. Ultimately, averting nuclear disaster requires a fundamental shift in thinking. It requires recognizing our shared humanity. It means understanding that national security cannot be achieved at the expense of global security. The fate of the planet is interconnected. A nuclear war would have no winners, only losers. The challenge is immense, but not insurmountable. It calls for courage, vision, and a relentless pursuit of peaceful solutions. The alternative is to continue down a path where the risk of unimaginable destruction remains a constant companion. Humanity deserves a future free from this existential dread.